Greetings, my name's Dwayne, and I want to show you how I make my little coat and top hat gnomes. These are real cute design, a simple design that I'm going to show you how to make that come out to these 5-inch gnomes. I'm going to put these guys aside so we can get right into it, but real cute project here. I'm using 4-inch foam cones to make these. These are 4-inch with a 2-inch base. I got a lot of these from Hobby Lobby during the holiday season. I can order these online through Amazon and Temu too. So they're a pretty easy cone to find, the 4-inch. If you've done the Woodland Wizards that I do, they use the 4-inch cone too. So we're going to be using those. With these two, I'm using 2 different color felt. Now I can use wool, I can use fleece also. And I can use more than 2 colors too, but what I want to do is concentrate on doing the body in one color and the hat and coat in another. Now, if you want to do a hat in a different color, you can do that too. I'm going to be working on some other ones where I'm using a dark red and putting into a black hat. So I'm going to be using 3 different colors for that one. But for this project, I'm going to show you how to do just the body with a one color and then the coat and hat with another color. I'm going to need a full piece for the body, for the coat and hat. And then for the body, just something that I've already used or some scraps you can get away with too. With the pattern, this is something new and different that I've done as far as the body, because the coat covers pretty much most of the cone. So I wanted to come up with something that I wasn't going to be wasting material on and be also able to cover the bottom of my gnome there too. So I came up with this idea of just covering the body and the base with a simple pattern here. And we're going to draw it out here on the scrap piece here. And then cut it out here for you. But this covers, again, a 4-inch cone. And I'm just going to mark it off here. And it's got a circle for the base. And up for my body here. And this is different from the Woodland Wizards where I cover the whole thing. And then I have these slits that go in on the sides here for the circle. And I'll show you in a moment when I glue it on why I have those there. And there we have our simple body. So what I'm going to do is cut that out. I already got a piece here, and I got those flaps cut out, just to give you an idea there. And I can get multiple bodies out of one piece of felt. So again, the idea of just saving felt, reusing it, using scraps is a great idea just to have that. Now, with this, you can see I still got my ink lines in there. That doesn't matter. Whatever you use to draw, to cut out and everything, because it's going to be covered by the cone. Now here's the trick here. I'm going to lay my cone down so I'm right at the edge of where that circle is. Those little slits are made to be cut just to cover down there. And I'm going to add just a little touch of glue to them. And what this does is helps round it out. So I'm just going to glue those down to the bottom there. And then here I'm going to glue my base on. And I'm going to fold that circle over. A lot of times with my other gnomes, the base is sort of the things that I end up with it towards the end to cover up. This I'm starting out with, and it just gives it a nice, simple, complete look. So with my body here, I've shaped it there. I'm going to glue it down here. I don't need all this covered with my body. So that's the difference here, that come up with something that I can cover my gnome, but not have to use a lot of material and not a lot of extra stuff cover, because as I said, I'm going to be covering with my coat. So that's my new trick with the cone. And that's going to give me my body on there. Once I have my body, I cut out the rest of my parts. And again, as I said, I use just one piece of felt or one piece of wool or fleece if you want to do that. I haven't tried the fleece yet. The wool, I seem to like the texture to it. It's a little bit stiffer. And my coat, simply going to use my coat pattern, put it down. If you've used any of my patterns before, you'll see I have a fold. That fold side will go on there. And then I'm going to cut out my pattern. Same thing with my two arms. Now my hat, I'm going to be making a top hat. And the top hat is going to consist of 3 pieces. So I've already cut out my pieces here, so we'll get that out here and show you all the pieces. But the hat, again, is just a folded rectangle cut out. I do 1.5 inches. I like the height at 1.5 inches, but if you want to do a variety of different things, just do 1 inch. Do 3/4 of an inch. Gives you a couple different sizes. I like to have a simple pattern that I can just do some variances in, do a little bit of different things in while I'm doing the pattern, just to change up my gnome here. So this gives me my hat brim, which again, I have my fold. I trace around, cut out. Then I'm making these little slits. These slits are about 1/2 inch. And then I open it up, and then I cut another, just with my scissors, cut 1/2 inch there. And the reason for that is because this is going to be the brim of my hat, and that's going to go over top when we're finished there. So there are the 3 pieces of my hat. This is going to be the top of the hat. As I said, I got my coat, which I've cut out. Again, folded, cut out, open it up there. And then I'll have my two arms. The pocket's optional. A couple of my little guys, I've done little pockets on them just for the fun of it, type of thing. It looks real great. Or I can put other things onto my coat here. Eventually what I'm going to want to do is try some stuff on the front here, maybe a belt across here, but different ways to accessorize them. I want to show you the basics, and then from the basics you guys go and prepare and make how you would like it here. So with my coat, I'm going to lay this down. Again, I'm laying it down in the middle. I'm not laying it down on the side or anything. I'm laying right down the middle, and I'm leaving about 1/2 inch overhang on there. Now I want to come around, and you'll see right where that comes together, I'm just covering to that point there. And that way it'll cover on my other side. So that's my goal, is to have both those sides meet right there. So with my 1/2 inch on the bottom there, I run glue down, and again, I don't want to get all the way down there because I don't want the glue to overhang. And the reason I'm doing an overhang is because I want it to have a coat that hangs over, so it has like feet that show underneath. And the feet are something that I'll have to show you too, that I've come up with, because I had to experiment a little bit and come up with something that I liked, and give you a trick on that too. Once I've glued the back, I glue the side. Now again, I only go down, I try to leave about 1 inch, because I don't want my glue to come out over, but I do want to just lightly touch where that comes together too. Most of the time you'll see that I glue on the felt, not on the cone. I use my glue gun on a low heat. I get some people to ask me, how I can do it without melting the cone. Most of the time I'm not putting the glue directly on the cone, but I would definitely leave it on low heat even when I do put glue on the cone. And here again, I make sure I'm 3/4 to an inch up there, a little dab right on there. So I've covered around. Now a couple things about this here too is, as you can see, the lines that I drew into the original base and the body were facing down so they don't show. I've covered my base already. I have this, but I also have a little bit of room by putting that glue just inside a bit. So if I do want to tuck a belt underneath there, if I do want to tuck something, if I want to put another color, if I want to make it look like he's got pants on and put maybe a blue color or something, I still have some room here. So when I glue it down, I make sure I leave a little bit of room that can open up. Plus I like to have the open coat look there. So just another little trick that I'm not trying to glue straight down until, if I want to do it, if I'm not going to put something on there, sure, I can glue that down. But I like to have just a little bit of a flap there for it to open up. So if I do want to put something in there, I can do that. So now I have my coat on. I have my body made. Next is going to be my arms and my beard. My beard I cut out ahead of time, but it's just going to be like a 1 inch across the back there, and going down probably about 3/4 of an inch down on that for my beard. I want some of that body to show. Now you could do that too if you wanted to just put it down a little bit farther and cover. I like my body to show a little bit, like I said, so I can do different things with it if I want to. And I'm going to glue it right on here. Now with some of the gnomes, you'll see that I've done some trim on, or I've done some stitching on there. This is a blanket stitch that I went around and did. Now I did this before I glued on there. So before I glued the coat on, I actually went around and did my blanket stitch on that. The ones with the lace, I put that on afterwards. I made sure I cut it so it was up in there and put it on. But at this point, you could put your trim on, your lace. If you want to put a little fur on there, you could put a fur on. But either way, I found I could do it, by putting it on afterwards. If you want to go do it as you go, put the trim on there now. I like to give you options. Let you say, okay, there's no wrong way in building your gnome. Give you the basics. And then from there, you build and accessorize. That's what makes these so beautiful. And I love to see the different things that people come up with, even doing it the same way that I do it, and coming up with their different accessories and their different ways of how it looks. So I just glued on the beard by gluing the back of it. Brush it down here. Now, if I wanted it to be a smaller beard, again, I could have just gone like a half inch down on the back there, or I could move it up farther. Just depends on what length you want. If you want it to come down over, move it down. My arms, I've cut out 2 on the fold there. We're just going to simply grab a needle and thread here. And my arms, I just stitch up the sides. You'll see a lot of my other videos, I do the blanket stitch all the way up here. But I found also I can just do a straight line stitch. You can also glue it. If you want to just run hot glue right up the inside, I get a lot of people that put together my same gnomes by just doing the glue on it. There's really don't have to do the stitching if you're not into sewing. If you just want to do the hot glue, you can just run a line of glue right up there and then we turn it inside out. So I just stitched that up. I finish off with a couple stitches through there. And we'll cut that off. There I have my arm. Again, I just turn it right side out. Poke it through. Use a pencil, use a scissors, whatever you need to do just to get your arm through there. Now with the arms, I can attach it and then add the hand to it, or I can just grab them here where I already got a couple done. I'm going to glue them right on just at the edge of the beard there. And again, this is something optional too. If you want to stuff them, put just a little bit of stuffing up in there. These guys are not too big, so usually I don't do any type of stuffing in there. And again, I'm just going to glue it right to the side of my beard there. And what I want to do is have my seam on the inside. So my seam faces right up against the coat there. Do that with my second arm. And attach him right on there. So there we have our basic coat, arms already on there. What I'm going to do now is put together my hat. I'm going to, once I get that together, we'll get that, get the beard on. We got the beard. We'll put the nose on. My hat. I'm going to take my pieces here, fold that over. As I said, I'm doing 1.5 inches up on the length there. 1 inch would be fine too, to give it just a little character there. And this again can be glued if you like on the side there. I'm going to sew mine. And once you've done these a few times, you find that this is pretty quick and simple to build your bodies. And fun thing there is just doing the accessories afterwards. And I'm going to do a line stitch again because it's quicker to show here. So I do my line stitch there. When I get up to the top, this is where I add the top of the hat. I open that up. And I place the top of my hat on there. So I'm going to sew the top of the hat in here. I start right where my seam is, where I brought that together. Bring that around. And again, I can do my blanket stitch around there, or I can just do the straight line stitch. And bring it all the way around. I just have to gather a little bit here or there. And I was trying to find a way to keep my thumb out of the process here, because I smashed it a couple months ago on a at work, and I knew people would be asking about, well, how come your thumb looks terrible? Well, it's growing out and it's fine, so that's why I avoided trying to do videos for a while too, was because I didn't want something showing like that. So just in case anybody's wondering about that. But we're going to get this all the way around here. There we go. Put a couple stitches through to tie it off. All right. Then I'm going to turn it right side out. So that'll give me my top to my hat. And then my brim, how I do that is I put that right over top of my brim there. And I make sure that the slit that I put is in the middle, not showing. What I'm going to do is tie off a knot here so I can come up underneath. And again, I start where my seam is. I come up underneath, put that knot through, go down, and then again, I'm just going to go around. Can do a nice little straight stitch around. Now, what I like about these floppy hats, and what I try to do is use this, as close to the same color as I can, is that I can put a trim around, or even if I don't put a trim around, it still looks good having that stitch put in there because it is more of a floppy hat. But as you can see with here, I just put a ribbon around that where I sewed it together. This guy I left, so you can see I do have some stitching in there, but it goes with the character. I want my stitches to show. So either way, whether you're using a ribbon, if you're using, if you want to cut something, this was a nice piece of lace that I had found with some other stuff I had bought. So I'm putting that around there to cover up my stitching and my seam there. So let me grab another hat here that I got finished. Save a few moments here. I've sewn it together. What I also do with the hat there, I put just a little bit of stuffing up in there, just a little. It's going to come down, and I put my seam to the top of the hat. In the very back, my hat's going to come down. It's covered. Got my beard here. Now what I like to do is glue the back of the hat down first. So I lift that up just a little bit. So I got the top of the sleeves and the very back there. I just run a thin line of glue across there and bring the top hat down. And here's where you can play with it too. If you want to angle the hat a little bit, or if you want to bring it way down, bring it down farther till the cone touches the top there, you can do that. I leave it just a little bit. I got a little bit of fluff up in there still. Now while that back is drying, this is when I usually put the hands on, because I'm going to want to glue the front here, but I want to give it a little bit of time to dry on the back there. Hot glued pretty quick, but so I'm going to add my hands here, and what I'm using is the 3/4 inch wood balls from Hobby Lobby. I'll use these for my hands and for my nose there. So I'm going to grab a couple of these. Some of these aren't even perfect, but I can glue them up in there. So they're 3/4 inch, the wood balls that I'm using for my hands and for my nose. And what I'm going to do is actually just glue right inside. Be very careful not to get on the outside, but I'm gluing on the inside. And then finding nice spots on that ball, so I can put that in there. And tucking it right up in there. So there I have my first hand. Open it up, go around to the other side. That's a nice thing about the felt too. It is stiff enough, but you can move it around a little bit. We're going to put the glue in there. Grab another. Put my hand just inside. And if you wanted, again, before you put the hands in, to put just a little bit of stuffing in there, you could do that too. I find they pretty much fluff out by themselves. But if you wanted to, it was designed at an angle, you could put some stuffing right inside there. So now that I got the hands in, I go back, lift my hat up just a little bit. You'll see where the beard comes to the cone here. And this is where, again, I run a thin line of glue. So I'm just hitting the top of those arm sleeves there. And I tuck that right over top to put my glue on there for the hat. Now, a couple of these, I'm going to do a little bit of designing different with the hat, just playing with it. Some of them I've gone and just already put the stitch in, but some of them I'm going to try to do a little bit more of a, almost like a cowboy type hat with, bring that down a little bit, glue those to the side, see how it looks. I want to do one of these with a red, maybe a black hat, and come up with some ideas on that. Just giving you some different looks you can do. Also, I want to try something where I put the hat brim up, put the nose on there, and have the hat brim up. So just some different styles. I like the floppy look, but also do something where I put the hat brim up, maybe put a little decoration on the hat brim there, bring it up there, give it another look to it. So a couple different options that you can do to give it a couple different designs to the same type of gnome. And I can do the same thing over and over again and just give it a different look each time. And here I put just a little bit of a line on for my nose. Got a little bit of running glue here. And what I want to do is I want to glue this down. I want to touch, just barely touch the top of my hat when I'm doing a floppy type hat. Touch the top of it with it in the beard. Hold it on there for a few moments. That way I'm giving it an extra spot there. It's touching the top of the hat and touching the beard with the glue. And gluing that down. So here we have our basic gnome. Got everything together. The only thing I need on here now is my feet. My feet I've tried to go out and do different things to come up with an idea for the feet. And I tried to use beads. I tried to use other pieces of wood, and just finally came up with, going through Hobby Lobby, I came up with these doll pin stands. They're little wood round pieces, look nice and everything. Wanted to have something that was a little bit weighted, not too much, but also could cover down across the bottom and stand up nicely. So these came out real nice looking at them, but I needed to paint them. I painted them, so I have a lighter brown here. I'm going to be working with some darker browns, some blacks, just different colors that I can use to paint and put on there. As I said, these are from Hobby Lobby that I get them from. You could probably look online too, but they're the doll pin stands that I've used for the the shoes and the feet. Found that they were just my simplest, easiest thing to do to put together, and I've painted them. I'll put just a little dab of glue on the side here. Glue it together. I don't want to put too much on because I don't want it leaking through. I don't want it showing really, but I don't want it to get on my table or anything else that I have covering my table. But I'm gluing them together here. I'll also use them for eyeballs. How about that? No, we wouldn't do that. Maybe some other time I might try something just for the fun of it, to play like that, create a creature. Maybe some goggles on something. We might be able to try something like that, just for the fun of it. Always fun to experiment. That's how I come up with a lot of my different things, is I just play around, see what's on my table, and just start playing. So if you see something with some big googly eyes here in the future, I might just do that. Let's put his feet right down there. The coat covers nicely. They fit well. They're painted. The first couple I didn't paint the bottom. It didn't look finished, so I went ahead and painted, give it the whole look there for the bottom and everything. And here we have our shoes. We have our feet right on our gnome there. As I said, you can do different color browns. You can do all different types of things. From here is where we just accessorize, where we decide, okay, what we want to put in with him, what type of, if we want to put a pocket on him, if we want to put some lace trim on it, or on the hat, the brim, however you want to do that. I'm just showing you the basics, giving you some ideas, letting you see how I put together a gnome, and hopefully give you some little tricks there along the way too of how you might be able to do that. It's real simple, beautiful, but here's where you accessorize. Here's where you add your character to it. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you get a lot of fun out of that and making different styles here. I look forward to seeing what you do. Thank you.